This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. The time being 4:44. I'd like to call this meeting of August 15th, 2024 to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, I'd like to say our heartfelt sorrows go out to the Boudreau family. Sorry to hear of Paul's passing this past week. He's been very instrumental in the community and helped with the Wednesday night music group at the Senior Center for the last 14 years. So I just wanted to say our prayers, thoughts and prayers go out to Jean and her family. All right. Shane and director, and I think Pete's here, so bring 2 chairs up.
So the first thing I want to do is
Turn your mics on, please, and then talk into them.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to give a shout out to my crew. They've been doing an excellent job this summer. We've been pretty busy doing all kinds of different maintenance stuff. Been doing a great job.
They have. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've been doing just a lot of maintenance stuff for the most part, doing all the mowing of the parks and cemeteries, and we've got the old boiler removed from town hall downstairs. This week we fixed up the ramp out front, painted the rails, and fixed the white nasty looking board. All the catch basins have been cleaned. We did that first week of August. Daniel's Electric has been in and been working on the recycling building, putting that on. They're not done yet, but they're getting close. All the trucks have been inspected. The 99 International needed quite a bit of work, but it's all done. We had a Northfield mechanic do it. Did a really nice job. The police impound lot is all set for fence to be put in. We finished that Tuesday and Wednesday.
Oh,
So that looks really nice. Come up really nice.
So the fence is up around it
No,
now?
no, I don't know who's
all the
doing-
preparation work
Yeah,
is done
yeah,
for
yeah.
it. Yeah.
All the
It's over
dirt work's
there
done.
the other day looking.
Yeah, so it doesn't look like a shamble, but it looks really nice. I've met with Chief Gilman and Lieutenant Salmon today on Main Street replacing the walk lights. We found where we want to put them, and I contacted the patrolman for DOT out here, and he stopped by, and he doesn't have a problem with it, but he also gave me another number to the district office to find out, to make sure that we can put them there and do whatever before we go trying to figure out how to put them in the ground and have to remove them. Yes.
Where they proposed to be.
Right on where the curb is, on the sidewalk. We're going to put them on each side diagonal across from each other, so they'll work back and forth on the 4 crosswalks from Town Hall down to T-Hawk.
We own about 8 feet out from the curb.
Okay, so we shouldn't have an issue.
DOT doesn't own to the curb.
That's what,
We do,
But
it was
I
nice
just
to
wanna cover
contact, because as a courtesy, we should let them know we're installing them.
Yeah.
But we don't need their permission to install
yeah,
them.
I just want to make sure that
No, it's
we're
good. We
Yeah,
all play in the
because-
sandbox.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, that was just funny hearing it from you.
So we don't know exactly what the footing is for the base of them. So I've contacted the company that we got them from and trying to see what they recommend. They also make those big ground stakes that was mentioned. So we got to figure out how we want to go about doing that. The post for West Pocket Park is on order. So when that comes in, we'll put that in, put the sign back up. Let's see, what else have we done? Oh, I've been working on the building maintenance plans for the town hall is pretty much all completed. And I just got all the other buildings to do. And I did the cost analysis on the cemeteries that we were asked to do.
Do you
It
have that with
doesn't,
you?
um,
I'm
Yep,
sorry.
It's in your,
I see it, but it doesn't mention whether we have any monuments that need to be repaired.
yeah, there's monuments and stuff that need to be repaired.
Oh.
We didn't know we were supposed to be doing that.
Well,
Because-
yeah, and it's probably me not being clear.
We don't know. We don't know how to,
It's not what you do for them, it's what needs to be done. Because there's things, I don't think we've ever cleaned monuments, and maybe we shouldn't.
yeah.
But if there's
I don't know.
monuments that have been damaged or,
Yeah.
whatnot, do those need to be repaired?
So you want a list of,
Things that need
Cemeteries
to
that
be
need-
taken care of in the cemeteries.
okay,
You know what I mean?
yep, I understand.
Thank you. But this is a good list too.
Board, it's in your department head reports section after the first page
Yep.
of Shane's report.
Yep.
If you're looking for it.
But this really isn't a cost analysis. I mean, if it, what would it, if it took you 2 days to mow with how much labor is that to us?
Well, it depends on if we have two guys doing it, three
Right.
guys. Yeah,
So on average, what do you usually have, 2 or 1?
Most of the time it's three,
Okay, so if
two
you have,
trimmers and one mower.
all right, so if you have 2 trimmers and 1 mower, 2 days, then now there's your cost. So,
I can figure all that out.
yeah. And then repair broken when needed. So like broken rails, what does it cost to fix 1 broken rail on average? I mean,
Well-
you're not going to pinpoint it to exact, but
Right.
you're never going to be able to do that. But
Right.
on an average, when you go
Yeah, that's
back
why-
to a
that's-
cemetery,
Yeah, that's why I put that price in there, because we paint them and, like up at the Lancaster, tree branch come down and wiped out 4 or 5
oh, did it?
boards. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went up and fixed them. So
So when you replace them, what do you replace them with? What kind of wood?
pressure treated,
Okay.
then
Got
we
it.
paint them.
Hmm. Yeah. Great job.
All I have right now.
No compactor though.
No, compactors are here.
Just not wired?
Right.
So no compactor.
No, no compactor.
Any clue when that might happen?
They had to order more parts for the electrical stuff.
More parts here. then they'll be right.
And we're getting quotes on doors and stuff for the front of that.
Oh, to get into
Whatever.
it. Yeah.
So, get some bay door. Yeah. We can get that installed and see what the best options for that is.
Any other questions for Shane while we're on miscellaneous?
Mm-mm. Town looks good.
I haven't been up to the senior center, but I've gotten many comments on it, so.
Yep, did a lot of work up there.
Yeah, you
Yep.
did. Yep, it looks great.
Have you had an opportunity to cut those stumps down in Civil War?
Not yet.
I was just curious.
Yeah, no, we haven't done that.
I think so now we've had a lot of like flash flooding and you had to, roads,
We've had
washouts or,
Yeah, we've had a few, but it's mainly like the Westwood
Hmm.
up off in Lancaster. We just go back and pull it back into the ditch because there's really, make some cutoffs so it doesn't wash too much of it out.
Hmm.
So I do have, are you finished, John?
No, I was,
Okay,
that's fine.
go ahead.
That's fine. I'm trying to think what else. Pretty much it. Tree pruning or anything like that. Is that, for winter, if we get stuff like we gotta do?
We did
How is
that.
that looking?
Did that at the beginning of spring. We went around and cut a lot of the higher stuff that the roadside mower won't get. So we've been going around doing that. And
I know coming out of Morrison Ave, you can't see up towards that.
Yeah,
Their hedge has gotten, I don't know how that works.
yes,
Somebody might know.
yeah.
Can you cut it or what? Their hedge is growing right out to the
Right to
road.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
when you
right on the
pull
corner
out,
edge, you pull out.
you have to come out to the road
Yeah.
and before you do it. I don't know whose responsibility that.
A safety weekend.
The police can contact
Yep.
them if it's a safety issue,
Right.
line of sight safety issue.
Line of sight, right.
I don't know if there are any other ones around town.
Pine and Chestnut.
Pine Chestnut has one too.
But I wouldn't just go
Yeah,
hacking down
those are those
somebody's
cement-
shrubbery.
That
Where the
bush,
cement-
right.
yeah, where the cement things are.
Mhm.
Yep,
Yes.
we can.
Yep.
Should we just talk to the homeowners
Oh,
first?
Yeah, and I think it's a
Then-
new homeowner as well, but they allow you to cut it. You just go in and ask them and they allow you to cut it down. But
Right.
you
The
all
other
set?
thing was, I'm not sure who's responsible exactly for, I think Lowe's has been doing, but the Tilton sign entering downtown Tilton, that's been out for a little bit. I think the bulbs might be blowing out their fluorescent tubes in it, but
We can.
I think
Mhm.
Lowe's is responsible for that, so that
Yes.
would be
Yep.
Casey Hyman.
Yep.
Yep. I know I've been mowing up there and
Do you have his number? If you don't, I do.
that's all I had.
Maple Court in Cedar.
Yep.
About a year or so ago, water company did work on Poplar and then down on Maple Court. From Poplar down to Maple Court and took away the berm that was there, a very nice berm that you guys built on Ray Tilton's property.
Yeah, we did the corner coming off from Poplar.
Correct.
We widened it.
Yeah, correct. Well, that is all gone now and halfway into his yard. And they put down ledge pack and they've been after him to no avail to replace that. And that's up to him. That's up to the water company to replace. And now with the deluge of water that's been coming down the past month or so, it's washed away some of that and it's pretty much into Cedar Street. So, again, I've brought it up a couple of times here at the Selectmen's meeting and we're not getting anywhere with the water company. And unfortunately, being disabled, he's not able to do that.
Yeah.
Fight for himself.
Yeah, because it was we did that a couple years ago. We made that corner wider.
Right, from
The
his,
water would come down off.
well, you
that.
made the corner wider so that you could, not only for the
Open up
water,
his
but also for the truck and the plow to make that corner. He allowed you to take some of that corner of his property.
Yeah, because I remember we found his boundary pen and everything.
Correct.
Right
And
on.
then just below the driveway, you created a really nice swale and a berm off of the driveway alongside his grass across his walkway, and then continuing on his grass down by right where it meets the street sign.
Okay.
And then it flows directly, directs it over to the drain over by where Currier's is across the street. But it doesn't do that anymore because the berm is completely gone. So now it just pushes excess ledge pack that just
Yeah.
bunches up in
So you
mud.
want us just to go, just fix it?
No, the water company's responsible for it. Either that or fix it and bill the water company, one or the other.
Okay.
I don't know what the board wants to do. It's been over a year now.
I'd rather lean on the water company
Yeah,
hard
I would too.
first,
That would be my choice.
Okay.
but we need to get it fixed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be my choice. Okay, do we have Matthew and Jeff here? Okay. So I think we can start with the discussion on, that's who we were waiting for, the discussion on Morrison Avenue. Are you ready to talk about that?
Mhm.
Okay. However you want to begin that discussion, go ahead.
Well, we got Jeff and Matt from R&D, and they're the only ones that are willing to help us on this pretty much.
All right, we'll start from the beginning and then let's figure out where we're at.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay?
So we have a price from R&D. Thank you very much for basically redoing the roads. Do we have a price for the berm? It was your idea.
Yeah, we scratched that idea because like John was saying, when we plow and stuff, the snow goes over the top of the berm and it's going to sit in there.
Yeah, but snow can either melt slowly or very quickly.
And on that side of the
With
street,
the
it
amount of
melts
rain
slowly.
that we're getting, I would think that would cause a lot of problems. And I think the Board of Selectmen, we're still waiting for the price on the Cape Cod berm. I know I was.
The whole length of it or just that area?
Well, I'm trying to see. I think you suggest, our recommendation is put a Cape Cod berm on that side of the road from the upper corner to the bottom of the hill. It would be the least cost for the town. So whatever you,
That would work.
I mean, also,
Matt Dubrow, R&D Paving.
Hi, Matt.
I looked at it yesterday. Honestly, because of the height of the road as it sits now, and then putting another 1.5 inches on top of it, in front of the two properties that you have the largest issue with, the one being a little bit further down where the asphalt goes right up against his front porch along the whole way. The problem with putting berm there is you're continually adding to the height of the road right there, while his front step is just a minimum amount of space behind it. So it really causes a trip hazard for anybody that's parking and walking into his house or leading down the set of stairs, which seems to be to the left side of the house. With the road already being at the height that it's at, and it's broke also a little bit further into the road. So you would have to pick your spot where to put the berm in order to keep the amount of water that you're looking for. Because you could put berm, it would be quite a bit higher than everything's sitting now. It would be a trip hazard for him to be in that area. And then on top of that, if you want to minimize the height of the berm and the edge of the road in front of his house, you're then causing an issue where if it rains hard enough, it may not hold the amount of water. So you may do it and then still have water going, jumping the curb and going to where it needs to be. So it looks to me like that edge of the road was raised about 3 inches as it sits now, maybe even a little bit more. And right now there's only binder on there. there's not another inch and a half of top, which is supposed to be allocated to be put on there.
And that was 3 inches in this project. It was already high from the previous, probably top coat. I don't think we
So
Um,
when they did
grind
this,
it. I think we just.
You guys reclaimed it.
Did we
You
reclaim?
reclaimed it last fall, so you took it.
No, I mean, before this particular project, like 5 or 6 or however many years ago, we did it the last time.
Yeah, I would imagine it was quite a many years ago, but I couldn't speak to when it was last done.
yeah,
Go ahead,
I have
John.
a little history on it. About 20 years ago, when they put the sewer in, they never reclaimed the road then. They put the sewer in, then brought a binder and all that up
Okay.
for the sewer. So that right there raised it up about 3 or 4 inches.
Yeah.
And then they did that. And then the last one, they ground, I don't, you guys know the
Are you
terms. I'm
talking
not
about the
gonna,
last one, meaning last fall?
no, I'm talking
Oh,
about,
previous.
yeah, 15, 20
Okay.
years ago
Yep.
when the sewer went in.
Yeah.
And then there was other work that went in, and then they put another layer on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then last fall, they were going to dig it all back down and
Right.
reset the drains. But instead of doing that,
You reclaim it, which you take the asphalt that's existing, you blend it into the gravels that are underneath, and it causes a fluff factor, which could be anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 inches of elevation change because you're taking the gravels underneath plus the asphalt, you're blending it in together, which fluffs it up. Now you pound it back down, but it doesn't go back down to the elevations and what you had for grades before. So that's why if you see like what we did in Chili's, we ended up milling that because it's all curbed in. So if you were to reclaim it, the amount of fluff, you got to pull a lot of that material out. And then you always worry about if the material isn't that good underneath the road, you pull out the good stuff. So you may reclaim, blend it in with crap, take out what's above surface that you just reclaimed, and now you're leaving kind of garbage. So it's a little bit of a science to it to be able to get it to be done right. So on a road like that, you have multiple driveways on top of each other. You have some where the buildings or the houses are very close to the edge of the road, and it's also paved directly to their whole front of the house. Where if there's at least landscape and something of that nature that can take some of the water and you could change the elevation of easy enough. But in this case, it's a lot of asphalt. So it makes it tough to be able to do what they did without removing some material.
so after the sewer, because they raised it then, it's,
Yeah.
reclaiming going back down. So that was done then. I probably have the wrong terms.
No,
And
that's
then
fine.
again, it came back last year where they ground some of that up. And
And
then
you just keep
added more
adding.
again.
You just keep
They
adding.
keep adding,
Yeah.
and to a point, I think Mr. Fontaine's property, some pictures from maybe 22, 25 years ago, where it's actually this much higher on that side of the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we're going to put another thing in. That was the
Right. Right.
things that.
And I can't speak for what the condition was at that house, say last year before this reclaiming was done and paving. Whether there was water going in there or not, and exactly what it looked like. But I know we had planned on taking some material out of there just because of what it looked like there. Now there are times you can use that material somewhere else on the road. This being a short road tying into a state road on either end makes it a little bit tougher. Luckily, all the driveways on the other side of the road all go up in elevation, so you don't necessarily are moving water to a side of the road that you're just going to have another problem with. You can work with this road just because the other side of the road, you may have to cut into driveways further. You can't necessarily use what was done before. So for instance, if you were to then profile the road to all pitch to the right, and this is when you come from the end where the Honda dealership is, you could pitch it all to go to the right, which would lower that side of the road slightly. But then if you had to, you just cut into the driveways a little bit further, but they're all elevated. They're all going up, and which until you get down to the old Mayor's Welding. But you can cut into them to make them all, because that's what we do is when we go into a road and we change the elevations, we have to determine how far into every driveway we're going to cut into. Because some driveways, you may only have to cut in a few feet. Other driveways, you may have to cut into 5 feet, 6 feet. And yes, there's handwork items, which makes it a little bit more costly, but it gives you the ability to have the correct transition to each driveway. And in this case, I don't think there's a lot of thought that went into how each driveway may transition into, especially the one that obviously is the problem.
The next house down, there's a white farmhouse, they have a garage
Yep,
up
yep.
close on the, then you go further down and I got calls from her that actually that's up and it's
Yes, I saw that one. So,
is up. And then the next
yep,
one, the guy,
right
his
before
is
the
up,
corner,
yeah.
that last one you're talking about. And I even noticed the one that you're speaking about, the garage, then there's the driveway, and then there's the house.
Hmm.
And some of our driveway has got sunk holes, and you can see where some water sits. There's a walk right before that you
That's,
guys have timbers, and then you have like a 3-foot section of asphalt existing walk, and then the edge of road. You can tell just based on that. I can't remember what that looked like before it was reclaimed and bindered, but just looking at it, I'm guessing the original road was probably close to the elevation of that walk or maybe slightly higher. But right now it's about 4 or 5 inches higher, and they broke it down quite a bit there. So that just gives you a little indication of maybe how the road changed.
and then up by where it goes to 3 and 11 where, well, we call it Mayor's Welding, but it haven't been.
I
been
remember
gone for a
Mayor's
long
Welding,
time,
that's
so
what I
I
call
think
it.
if we all know what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So they put a berm in,
Yes.
but what's happening is the water in big rains comes down 3 and 11 and then hooks in behind the berm
Oh,
and
okay.
goes into that guy's yard.
Yeah.
And his foundation actually was sinking once because the road was higher.
Yeah.
And so they put that berm on his driveway. So now the road is higher than his driveway. So you guys, the only
Yeah.
thing they could do, help him out, was to put a little berm there.
Right. Yep.
And
Yep.
sometimes in heavy rains, that still goes down there because the
Right.
whole road's going that side.
Right. And that's a case of that driveway. You may have to cut into the driveway a little bit further than you normally would. So if you were to change the elevation of the road and the transition was correct to help out with that, and certainly that berm that was put in front of that driveway isn't bad at all. I mean, that looked pretty good. But depending on the elevation of the road, if you were to put a berm, we just did this in Wyndham on a large road, is we had to berm the whole side of both sides of this road. And it was a good size, and we had to cut into every single driveway. So once we put the berm in, then you have to cut the top of the berm off just enough for traffic to get into their driveway. But then you had to have it transition into the driveway at the appropriate spot. Some driveways you may be able to cut a foot or two behind the curb that's running across the front of the driveway. Others you may have to cut 5, 6, 7 feet into the driveway.
They don't
So the
hook their mufflers
transition, so when they get up over that curb and pull into their driveway, it's not a bump. It's just a pull in and then go up into your driveway. So those are all things that just have to be noticed and looked at and work with the town when it comes to a road like that. The one particular house that has the worst issue, I mean, myself, I would cut that down by a few inches. If this road was to be redone, cut it down a couple inches. I'd try to get it all to pitch to the right instead of having a crown down the road to limit the amount of water that even would go in front of his place. I would rip all the asphalt out to the front of his house. And he has a step there that right now maybe has like a 4-inch reveal, 5-inch reveal. I would take that step and I would go flush with it with the asphalt and cause just enough of a swale in front for the water that would come down to be able to hit that and go down past it.
I know they poured a section of cement there because it was flowing into their front door.
Yeah.
So they had to pour like a dam there.
Okay.
And that's why I think it's, if you look, there's
Yeah, so I would utilize that as elevation to be able to keep. The tough part is you could, like as it sits now, you could pave a swale in, but you also don't want it to be so deep coming off the edge of the road that here we are again as a trip hazard, not safe for somebody to walk in. So you got to get the elevation of the road down. So whatever swale you put in does it what it needs to do, but it's not causing such an issue for somebody because it sits right there. So it's tough. Someone pulls in and they want to walk into the front door. You're trying to keep that in mind.
and then even with the swale, the other issue is that the water, it's floods that yard there.
And then
you can't go all the way down the road.
Right.
So everything that's in the swale just floods into
And
that
you
yard.
could, in a case like that, if you drop the road enough, you could put some sort of berm there if you bring the road down enough to help alleviate that. But then behind the curb, I'd still pave, remove all that asphalt and pave it back in where there's still a slight curve. So you come to the top of the curb, you cut it down, and you do a slight swale to the front of the house to where that concrete step is that you're speaking of. So now you are trying to alleviate the amount of water that's going in there from the road to begin with, but then his own rainwater and anything that may go into there gives it a fighter's chance to be able to, to not go into the basin. It's a tough spot because none of us put the house that close to the road. None of us originally put the road that close to the house. Whatever came first, who knows, and that's an unfortunate situation when you have houses that are, whether they're built or the road's put in that close to the edge of a road.
The 1800s houses.
Yeah, yeah, and the road probably only
It was
grew
probably a
larger as the
cart
years
path.
went on. Yeah, exactly. So it does make for a tough situation. It really does.
That's all I had.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions for Matt? Anybody? Go ahead.
I know nothing about asphalt. I
Yeah,
admit that
that's
freely.
fine.
You'd have to ask me about concrete. It says in your bid, I want to make sure I have this year's 2024 yet. The binder is 2.5 to 3/4 inch. But is that,
2.5 inches compacted thickness, and then the material is 3/4 inch binder.
okay. I'm just trying to determine, you're going to take the road down, take out 5 inches of material,
Right.
and I'm trying to figure out how much you're putting back.
So we'll be taking the road down 5 inches
Yeah.
approximately, and then putting back 2.5.
Okay. So so in these road projects, is like usually the finish is the asphalt and then there's a top coat?
Yeah, so this would be the binder coat, and then there's a top coat as well, correct?
How thick is the top coat?
1.5 inches.
But the top coat isn't in this proposal, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I was going to say the top coat's not in here. Is it included
Unfortunately not, no.
or was it just,
We did work one up though.
okay, so that was
Shane
just
had asked us
an
to
omission.
check it out and
Okay,
put some numbers together.
so that, I just lost,
Yeah, just because the top coat on that road and the one across the street was part of the contract given to somebody else. So as far as I'm concerned, there's still a contract for those to be topped by somebody else. So we have a price to top them both.
so you give it as an addendum?
Yeah, we do have a price to be able to top them. But for the sake of the issue that you guys were having on this particular road, that was what the initial quote was for, was to reclaim. And honestly, after looking at it too, our quote and the price really wouldn't change, but the price to reclaim it, I actually, after looking at it, would be more obligated to bring a mill in and mill that asphalt off. Now, not like the milling that you're used to where it's left like corduroy and there's still asphalt. I would mill all the way down to gravel. So you mill all the way down to gravel. You can even take a little bit of that gravel with you. You shoot it into trucks. It's just a much cleaner process. And then the grade you can look at, and then you can make your adjustments based on where the grade sits with your grader. So now instead of fluffing it all up and adding more of that in a tight area that then has to be removed, you take the mill, you run it all the way down to gravel, and then it just shoots into a truck. Then you look at it. Now you can see the grade that you just left. It's all fairly compacted gravel. It's not fluffed up. And then you can set your grades, cut it with, which we got a big cat grader. You can cut it down. And when we quoted this for 5 inches, honestly, this is how we work. We give you a price for this. But if we get in there and we work with the town and we feel we need to take a little less out here or a little bit more out there, that's what we do to make sure that it gets done right. So the 5 inch, that's something that we had to have something put in there just to give you guys an idea. But if we feel that this side of the road we're going to drop 3 inches and this side we want to drop 6 or whatever the case may be, we work as we go to make sure that it's done right. So
we can cross reclaim out of this and add milling?
that's what I would recommend. And honestly, I wouldn't unless you guys have problems with anything coming off the state road. If you didn't have any issues with anything coming off the state road, I would actually stop milling down to gravel basically at each corner. So that way you're not disturbing everything all over again going into the state road. And then while we're doing it, we don't have to be in and out of the state road either. So it's just something to think about. If you mill down, it'd be from corner to corner, because from what I was told, all your problems fall basically within that perimeter.
I think, yeah, it's not.
I agree.
Yeah, it's
It's
not,
not
where
going
the
in-
entrance is.
it's
in
not-
the middle.
Yeah, it's
But,
not going into the state road, so it's corner to corner. That's what I would mill up. Leave the existing binder. It might be 100 feet, a couple 100 feet coming from the state road. Then you just binder in that, and then you overlay everything.
I like the idea of milling
Mm-hmm.
so that we can set a grade
Yep.
and not just keep increasing.
We don't want to keep increasing, which,
The
yeah,
thick-
we can
yeah.
pull it out, but it's tight area, where this way it's so much cleaner. You can see exactly what the grade's going to be afterwards, and we can do what we need to do. So that wouldn't be a problem. The price would stay. We could rewrite it up as a mill option, certainly, to make it official.
That'd be great.
But that would, and the equipment's just smaller. It's just easier to get in there and do what needs to get done. So
I just have one question in terms of if you change it to milling, does that change the availability of the project? Right now, you said the availability is spring of next year.
honestly, if you guys were to sign this up, I'd try everything I could to get that mill in there and get it done this fall. I mean, at the end of the day, you guys want to at least get this problem taken care of before you get into the winter, I would imagine. So I would look at my schedule, but I would do whatever I could to be able to get in there, mill that out, grade it, and binder that in this year before we get into the winter.
The
John?
only thing, and thanks, Pat. The only thing is we get hin work. I could see a lot of work for these guys, so I would think that
What do you
they'd have
mean?
to coordinate.
We would work with you guys.
Yeah, they would work with. Honestly, I don't think they would have a
I don't know
lot.
how
I
your
mean,
schedule is for.
We can,
yeah, I
Can
mean,
you handle that, Shane?
yeah, we can
Yeah,
work with it.
okay.
It's only a couple days.
yeah, I would figure 2 days for milling it out and grading it, and 1 day to pave it back in. And honestly, I mean, if my schedule allowed it, you guys gave the contract for us to top, I could, and you guys would want it top this year, I could even see if that would be possible also. Because I mean, honestly, paving that in, I could probably pave that in and top that road and the road across the street all in 1 day. And then it would be done and over with. So, but that would be up to you guys whether you want to bring and our price to top it is only like $500 more than what we priced out last year. So it really is not any different than the bid that we put in.
We've been waiting. If you finish up, we've been waiting. Usually for other roads, we let it sit for the
Yeah, and if
season,
that's your
and then
policy,
come back in the
and you
spring
want
whenever
that
you're ready.
particular section that we're fixing and binding to be sat for over winter, then that's perfectly understandable. So
Put the sewer lids on that road, so somebody would have to reset. They're real high.
we would want to drop those. You'd want to drop those manholes down because in order for us to grade it properly with all of the different driveways, we'd want it down. We don't want to have to deal, and we don't want them to set the grade for what we need to do. Certainly, we want to be able to set the grade that's going to be appropriate to handle the problem, and then those can be adjusted and built up to where we would, we binder it, then they bring it up flush to the binder, and then when it gets topped, you guys put risers on or do whatever it is that the town, chooses to do. So yes, those, it would be, I think, 2 or 3 of them.
There's two waters and 2 sewers.
And yeah, they would have to be lowered.
And we wouldn't touch the water ones because they're down on the.
The one down on the corner near Mayor's, across from Mayor's, I don't believe that would have to be touched. I don't see any reason for that. I'm trying to picture where the other one is, but
I think
yeah,
it's right across the street, right across from that. Aren't they both right?
they're both on the same corner.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'd have to look, but there's a very good chance that the waters wouldn't have to be touched. Definitely. The 2 sewer manholes, because they're right, especially the one up in the middle that's closer to the home that we're having issues. Yeah, we definitely have to lower those 2 just to be able to do what we need to do to grade it properly. So.
Do you have risers?
Oh, we can get some.
No, I didn't know if you kept them and if you needed to get them.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we have any right now, but we've gotten them before because we've done
Yep.
it all in the village
Yep.
Right.
when they did the village for us.
And I'd imagine we don't have to lower the road extreme a lot where we should be concerned about how high the cone is that the sewer manhole is sitting on. I would think that you guys got plenty of room to be able to drop the road by 3, 4, 5 inches without getting into an issue with that. So
Considering all the toppings we've done.
Yeah, you would think
I
that.
think you're probably right.
They put that sewer real deep.
Yeah.
Because that's the main trunk line, I think. If I remember correctly.
Okay. Any other questions for Matt? Are we all set? Are we making, want to make a decision, or do you want to wait and talk about it later?
We have a question from the audience.
Okay. Go ahead, Dave.
That's microphone.
State your name and
Jay
address, please.
Fontaine, 20 and 24 Morrison, so I'm the house in question. So, thanks a lot. Appreciate you guys putting all this effort into this road, because it's not a big road, and I've seen Shane out there half a dozen times, so atta man, sorry. All right, so John stated that the problem came from many, many years ago, and he's correct. They put in a sewer line, there was regular paving, they did water lines. I moved there in '87, and I had some pictures of my house originally. My driveway used to go down to the road. Now it goes like this, and it goes down 6-8 inches up. So the road is up significantly. If you'll allow me, I have some pictures from 1999.
Dave, you need to speak in the mic
Sure.
because of
I
the
have some
minutes.
pictures from 1999 and 2017. This is the house above me. This is Zandy and Dane's property. And I can pass these out. And this is the house, 2 houses up from the big problem house. And you can see the road taper down. So that says 2017. And you can see my house is the one on the other side of the flag, and you can see my driveway goes downhill to the road. This picture is the problem house, and it goes all the way back to 1998 when the previous owner bought it, before I did. And you can see that that problem house is a good 8 inches higher than the road. Right now, the bottom of the sill of the door of that house is 7 inches below the peak of the road. So that cement thing is about 5 inches, that cement block you were talking, and then the door goes down even farther. So the 5 inches that you're talking about may work on most of the road, but the fact that you said you could adjust it here and adjust it there would make a lot of difference in the grade. So when you grade it, if you can grade it more in certain areas, you could probably solve the distance, but I don't know where 5 inches came from because I'm 7 inches, and the picture from 1997 shows the road is a foot lower than the road is now. So it's up almost 2 feet, not 10 inches, not 12 inches. And it is gradual. It wasn't one guy that did it, one company. So what it causes is when they come up the road, they plow all the snow and it builds up there. And when it melts, it doesn't go into the road. It goes into my basement and it washes out the foundation, and it creates a lot of mud. And the foundation's 120 years old. It can't take it. Okay. So the road has to be able to take the melting snow for the most part. Now I know it can't take it all, but right now it's taking none. Okay. And that's the biggest problem. So the last public works director also suggested a drain be put in the middle of the road pretty close to that house, which would solve some of that problem because it's a steep hill. Morrison Avenue is a very steep hill, probably 5% grade. So when that water roars down there, when it's melting and it's raining, it's 3 inches deep and it's moving. Okay. So if there's a berm, it's going right over that berm, and it creates huge puddles. Some of them 8 feet, 10 feet long, 6, 8, 12 inches deep that don't go away for days. And then they freeze, and my cars can't get out of the driveway because they're stuck on ice. And when it melts, it's a giant muddy mess, and it's full of hardpack. It's no longer lawn. It's hardpack and mud. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. And those pictures show that I have a grassy lawn, but now I don't. I have Lake Erie in my front yard. And the other house has a river running through it. So I like what you're talking about, lowering the grade. I appreciate all that effort and all the measuring and everything. But the 5 inches in front of 24 Morrison Avenue isn't going to work because you're adding back 3 inches. So really, you're only lowering the road an inch by the time you're done. And it's not going to work on 16 Morrison, which is the house north of me, or east of me. And you see that picture there with the 2017, it's almost level with the road. Now it's 4 inches lower than the road. So that water goes over and down and right into their house. Zandy's got their parents are in, they're at a hospice thing down in Boston right now and they couldn't make it. So she asked me to at least mention her house. And that's why I brought the picture in. So before you dig out the road, I want to make sure that 5 inches is enough. And if you think you can grade down lower than that road so that when you're all done, all the coats are on there, the road is lower than my door, I really don't have anything to complain about because that puts it back to where it was. If they come back in 10 or 15 years, I know you tar the roads every dozen years or whatever it is. So if they're going to put another 1.5 inches on there, it'd be great if you could compensate for that now, because raising it back above the door in 10 years is only going to cause me to be back here if I'm still alive. That's pretty much what I got.
Thanks, Dave.
You bet.
All right, board.
Notice there's another, neighbor on Marston Ave on.
Is there anybody online that would like to speak?
I can't get in.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm Catherine Higgins,
Hi,
28
Catherine.
Mars.
Okay.
Um, uh, I live just below Dave. I have a barn right next to his house. And then about 150 feet below that, I have a New Englander. I have 200 feet of frontage. And I purchased the place in 1984. So, like Dave, I've seen a lot of changes on the road in terms of building up. And when the sewer line went in 20 years ago, the road, and it's been built up through time, but it got built up a great deal then. And so there's a swale that I had asphalted to match my barn asphalt. And now with the new paving, there's actually a berm, basically. And then when I back my extended cab Ford Ranger into my barn in the winter, I go over the height of the asphalt into the swale, which wasn't there until all of the activity went on with the paving, and then up to the asphalt to the level of my barn. And I feel like I'm breaking an axle. That's the difference of it. And then when I purchased my home, the road grade was so much lower that I've had to build steps and there was an asphalt walkway to my porch. Then I put concrete in, and this is the third, and I've redone it again with steps going down the walkway, and then gravel and appropriately filled with steps up to the porch. And then when we had that Mother's Day storm and the asphalt was done up at, up at Lowe's and all of those other places without any drainage, I put in corrugated plastic pipe to keep water from getting into my house with a sock in it. So I keep renovating because of things that go on in the road, and I'm done with it. And then when they redid the road last time for the water line, and by the way, I'd like to thank all of the select people for agreeing to redo the water line before they did the road. Thank you so much. Thank you, John, for bringing the piece of pipe that I've saved for all the times that the road's been dug up. I really appreciate that. So I would really appreciate it if I could speak with the contractors directly about what my situation is here and show you. I have a window in my cellar that I put a window well in because the road has been built up so much. So, like Dave said, I agree with the milling situation, but I also think maybe more than that needs to be done. And we do get all the water from Route 3, and it comes down like a river to the bottom of the road, literally a river, and everything travels faster and more downhill. Carl Carlozzi's first principle. And when you mentioned the house on the corner down near Mayor's Welding, that was originally a sand lot with blueberry bushes in it. There's no drainage there, so that's part of the issue. And the person who owned the house across the street was a school teacher, and when he sold the house, he wanted that to be kept in blueberries forever. So that's part of the situation there that you're dealing with in terms of drainage and everything else, plus whatever comes off of Grant Street and everywhere else. Just some idle thoughts in terms of the history of the road. But I would like to meet with the contractors and speak with them directly about my situation, if that's at all possible. And so I'm Catherine Higgins, Higgins, 28 Avenue, and my phone number is 603-455-9213. Please.
Thank you, Catherine.
Does anybody have anything for me? I have a lot of historical information.
I think somebody will get in touch with you, Catherine.
And I can't see who you are because who am I speaking with there?
Pat Constantino, I'm the chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I only have a 1x2 picture of the seating arrangement.
Okay.
It's not funny.
Okay,
Been there.
board, let's bring it back to the board now. What would you like to do? You would like to make a decision or bring it to a decision later on in the evening? What would you like?
Decision on,
Accept the proposal of
I think,
R&D
Could I just
R&D paving.
I think we have to figure out where the money.
could I just speak one more?
Sure.
Now that there's a little bit more information. My personal opinion with you guys, I mean, we can go in there, we could certainly drop the road 5 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches. We could pitch it away from that side of the road that seems to be having the problems to keep most of the water. You can plow. Unfortunately, I wouldn't say unfortunately, but you could certainly should be able to plow all of the snow to the opposite side of the road. But to get it below what he is speaking of could take a lot more of an effort than what's on there. To get it low enough where a similar swale but newly constructed could be done with a berm that would alleviate a lot of the water issues, certainly. Any mention, and I have not seen how all the water flows on that road personally in a heavy rain. So any sort of drainage that could be put in off the edge of the road into the lawns. Now you're talking having to get a site contractor involved, an engineer. So just my opinion to you guys, based on the problems that are there, it's a long-standing issue, and how high that road is. I know we could make it better, and I know we can solve 90% of the issue, but depending on exactly what he's looking for, and if it means getting the road below his front door, and then any of the steps that he has alongside that house working up the road a little bit, it could become more of a project. So I would suggest you guys look into it. I don't know if there's a town engineer you guys work with, or a consultant firm that you guys deal with, but you may want to go that avenue just so you're not kicking the can. And 90% of the problem may seem great, but you need to make sure that it's handled where there's not any issues. Because 90% is still a lot of money, and then you're still possibly dealing with an issue. So we could certainly alleviate most of it, but to get it to the point of what might satisfy him, that I couldn't say for sure. And then any drainage off the road that would be recommended by somebody, obviously you guys would have to go and speak with, whether it's an engineer that you guys have, a consultant firm, a site contractor. You may want to look into that. So.
Thank you, Matt. I think my opinion, that we should wait until Tim is up here and we have the time and talk with Tim and get his opinion and so on and so forth. And
I mean, look for the money.
no, not only that, but he has some other stuff to input that we want to put in, he wants to talk about. So let's put it off to a little bit later in the meeting. And I like Matt's suggestion here that we need to think about some other things here.
Well,
Could I ask a question?
Go ahead, Catherine.
The catch basin / storm drain is at the bottom of the road. And lots of water comes off of Route 3, and I know we can't do anything about that, but is there any way to get a catch basin? And I know this would cost a fortune, but to be somewhere higher up on the road that would connect to the one at the bottom of the road? Because the water comes from off of Route 3 really rapidly. I mean, I see it go by my house like a river, literally.
We could probably do anything, but right now, Catherine, it takes time and money and it takes discussion. So what we were talking about was we had a proposal to fix the immediate issue, which is what we thought was the immediate issue. And after talking with you and Dave tonight, it doesn't seem like it's really going to fix the entire immediate issue. So I think that there's going to be a little bit more discussion needed here tonight with the board, along with probably Matt and R&D, to try to come up with a resolve. And I think that's where we're headed. So does it probably entertain the thought of more drainage? Maybe. Does it entertain other issues that will come up in the discussion? Maybe. But right now, we can't guarantee anything, but that could be part of the discussion. They brought up some very good points. You brought up some very good points tonight.
I had one more point I forgot. You don't have to do it long.
We're kind of running out of time, so if it's quick, I appreciate it.
I didn't hear aprons tonight. I did hear one. Town proposing that the driveway. Oh, Dave Fontaine. I heard blending, but I did not hear aprons. So with the road, are you planning on putting aprons in the driveways that are now lower than the road that used to be higher than the road? How is that going to work? How are you going to blend the driveway? What does that mean exactly? Does it blend in? Do you make aprons?
Yeah, just due to shortness of time. So you're going to lower the road, so it's not going to be as extreme. So the neighbor close to her that she spoke, the one house down with the separate detached garage, you could put a berm in front of that to keep the water from going down, but at the height of the road now, it makes it a little bit more difficult because you don't want it to be such a up down to get into a drive. So you got to first lower the grade of the road the best that you can. Then you determine the height of the road, and then that'll dictate how far into the driveway you cut it into. So each by each, because the houses are on the high side, you don't have to cut into so much, but it all depends on where you end up with an elevation on the road. That'll determine how far you cut into the driveway. You can call it an apron. We say you're blending into the driveway, not so much that you just take a lute and you just blend it in. It's a matter of where do we choose to cut into that drive. Some driveways may only see a 2 foot. You may cut in 2 feet. Other driveways, someone's going to be like, oh my God, it seems like we're paving half their driveway. You make that call as you go down. As you go down, you make that call. Correct. In a case like yours where you have the front porch that close to the road, I would immediately make sure that all of that was removed and it was paved directly up to your front porch. No matter what, whether the road was below the height of the door that you're speaking of, or if it stayed up a little bit, but we still want to keep some sort of little swale, the lower I can get the road, the less prominent of a swale we need to have in order to make sure that the water does what it. Yeah, I mean, we don't mind that, but you have to be careful because as a contractor, you have so much time that you're into a project. And if you have everybody come out and put in their opinion, and certainly we want to hear from everybody, but it has to be an opinion coming from knowledge or at least facts where you have to be careful. We have no problem. And that's why you try to go like, we certainly could set the grade, but before that, we could even go out with people and take a look. But there is a fine line, obviously. But this is a little different of a project.
I, we can't have the back and forth. This is the board. Okay, thanks. All right, we're going to close public discussion on this, please, and let's get back to it.
Still have a question.
Go ahead.
So, you talked about pitching it.
In the mic, Catherine, I can't hear you down here.
You talked about pitching it to the right or the north side. We're going to mill it down to gravel and then pitch the road to the right. Are we going to send the water instead of to the southern side of the road? Are we now going to cause problems on the right-hand side? Or is the way of pitching it so that it doesn't reach the edge of the road? Like I said, I don't know anything about asphalt.
Yeah.
Can you pitch it in such a way that it sends it down the road
Well-
and not off the west side or south side?
Yeah. So and I'm taking this coming from, let me think, east side of the road where the Honda dealership is.
Not the riverside.
Yeah. So
The other side.
So pulling from
The Route 3
Honda.
side.
Yeah, so you you're pulling from the Honda dealership, the top end, and you're driving down. At first, coming around the corner, you guys do hit a point where everything was pitched to the right.
Yep.
And then you seem to lose some of that
Yep.
pitch as you come further down. My first goal would be to try to get it all to stay pitched to the right, because you have all those driveways and the landscaping goes up off the edge of the road. So you can, instead of having a crown where half the road's water is heading towards all the houses that we're having issues with, we would try to drop the grade where then everything would pitch to the right if we get, because we don't want to have to drop the Route 3 side of the road too far, but there is room to drop it a bit.
Okay.
And then you do have to then cut into those driveways based on how much you drop it.
Sure.
Because right now, if you look at the berm that's sitting there, if you guys were to do your 1.5 inches, now there's not much reveal on the berm anyways. So the road should drop a couple inches. And honestly, the top of the berm may not change elevation wise, because in reality, the road itself should drop in order to have the reveal that you would like. And then you just got to cut into every driveway based on how far you do to help get the water from the left to the right. Now, if it's extreme amount, like he was mentioning, dropping it below his front door, well, then that makes it a lot different because it's a lot harder. You have to drop that right side, the Route 3 side, that much lower to then get his side of the road to drop as much as he's saying. Now that's extreme. That's when you would then have to still keep some sort of crown and you'd have to have a swale in front of his spot, maybe a berm, and you're going to have a little bit more water heading in that direction. So, and honestly, that's where engineers, other means of handling water off of the edge of the road comes into play, and because it's a tough spot, but that's what I meant by pitching it all to the right. That's what I'd like to be able to do to keep it from going to his side. Unfortunately, it's his house that's so low, or we would have to drop it so low. The other side's a slave to what it is that you want to do in front of that house. So, and when we say mill, we're milling the asphalt off the gravel. Then we're going to go from there and drop the gravel to where we need to go.
Sudden
So
elevation.
yeah, to the elevations that we would shoot for. So
Thank you.
Okay? Yep. All right, so that ends the discussion, and I think we'll take it up a little bit later. Thank you, Matt and Jeff. Much appreciated for you coming in. We will definitely be in touch. Shane and Pete, as always, appreciate it. Well, definitely, I know you'll be helping out.
Thank you.
Dave, appreciate it. Catherine, thank you very much for your input.
Thank you all. Thank you for having the meeting.
Yeah. All right. Next on our list is minutes of 7:25. Has everybody read them?
I haven't had the opportunity.
I have not either, so.
Let's table that till next meeting.
They are in your minutes tab. And I did want to just bring up one thing, if I could, regarding these minutes, if I may.
Mhm.
So on, there it is on page,
Good Lord.
let's see, now I'm having trouble finding it. Well, I can speak to the item. So within these minutes, there's a question posed to me at the meeting of the 25th about the land auction. And I wanted to clear something up because the answer that I gave to Selectman Scanlon, who asked when did I know about the activities to put in minutes in the binder for your meeting regarding prior discussions of the land auction, I made a comment that that there had been 2 selectmen in my office, and which wasn't completely how it happened. It seemed like it was a meeting before a meeting, which was not the case. And in fact, both Selectman Jessman and Selectman Constantino were if they recall, were probably well aware that I had been finishing up a meeting with Selectman Jessman, bringing him up to date on the status of the town administrator search, when Selectman Constantino was walking down the hall, and there was maybe a 2 or 3 sentence exchange. And just having been here for 16 years and sort of anticipating what could come up at a meeting, I took the opportunity, particularly considering that we were 2 days before the auction, that I would do the complete job and get all the minutes and everything else together. So unfortunately, the way I spoke was exactly how it's characterized in the minutes, because we have a very good minute taker. But it was somewhat of a mischaracterization in that it was not a meeting taking place. It was a passing exchange. Would probably be a better way to characterize it. So I did just want to clear that up. And for anyone that I may have given the wrong impression to, my apologies.
Thank you, Tim. The minutes for the public are 16 pages long. I've only gone through 5 pages of it, so John has not had an opportunity to read them either. Anybody else? Do you want to table them?
Yeah, motion to table them.
Okay,
I'm fine.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next up is Selectmen's reports. John, have anything for us?
No, actually, I mentioned to Sean, the light on the sign is blown out. I'm hoping to get up to the cemetery up there and start cleaning some of the gravestones at the Philbrook Cemetery. I haven't had the opportunity of some vehicle issues, and I can't fit a ladder in my car. So maybe Joe can give me a ride or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get together.
Are you still gonna ask for volunteers to help you?
Not as much volunteers to help. Some people want to see how it's done. And it just for the cleaning, there's, special, you can't use just anything
No,
to
you
do it.
can't.
And even the tools and brushes have to be a certain texture and
Yeah.
everything to it. And you can't use metal scrapers or metal
Are a lot of
brushes or
those
anything like that.
marble stones, or most of them slate?
There's a mixture. There's some granite. It looks like a couple slate, and then there's the marble one, which I'll probably start with first because that takes a period of time. And actually, if anybody does go by after I've done it, it will turn yellow for maybe a month or 2 months as it's killing off the bacteria that's inside it. It's very porous and that grows into it. So after we do, if anybody sees it yellow, never fear. Our statue up front turned yellow for a while too. But we've got that. I did receive some calls and regarding the property on High Street extension about the process, and I did get some information was gathered on that. Back in 2018, we had discussed the Conservation Commission and the parks about whether or not they wish to take possession of that and control for maintaining it properly. And I know the Conservation Commission at that time said they weren't interested. I don't know what the park said, but I think it might be a good idea to reach out to them and see if that's something that they're interested in, and follow that process that, from what I understand from the RSA, that should be the process and not just held with no intent.
The parks met Monday night and decided that it was not a site for a town park that would be utilized, but it would not benefit a lot of the town people for us to have a town park there.
So I think maybe if we get some
And they're
kind of
sending a
formal
letter.
response on what they
They're
think.
sending a letter.
And the Conservation Commission meets on Monday to ask them what their
Okay.
thoughts are, so we can follow those steps. It was suggested to me that perhaps we could put in a dog park. A lot of the people are very interested in having an area where people could have dogs fenced in, where they could play with their dogs and frisbee and that, and not be, because we can't do it in any of the regular parks, and we have enough issues with parks where people frequent. So a specialized dog park or something was one of the suggestions. But that's if we can do that and then proceed from there from, how we're going to be dispositioning this final disposition, as the actual petition didn't say anything about stopping the auction. The petition said to save the park. So perhaps there is a use that we could, or saving it for the benefit of all the taxpayers in the town. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, John. Joe?
Only that the Tilton Northfield Rotary Car Club car show and barbecue tonight at Tilton Diner was canceled due to forecasted inclement weather and has been rescheduled for next Thursday at 5:00. And I went to my first budget committee. We need people on the budget committee, so get in touch with Town Hall. I'm sure if you'd like to serve, we'd like to have you. And we just decided how we were going to start out. And we talked about the outside requests and things like that. So it was a short meeting. It was just Bill Lawrence and
Dan Brown.
Mr. Brown
Oh, nice.
Dan
Chris,
Brown, yep.
and
He's back.
myself. So
Wasn't quite a quorum, was it?
we only have
It was a quorum.
Yeah.
5 sitting.
Oh, because there was one.
5 sitting members.
Yeah. That I forgot that there was somebody resigned. Okay. I get it.
And we still don't have one from Lockmere Village.
Right.
I keep trying. Nobody wants to go to the budget committee.
Right. Hmm.
So far. That's
Got
it for me.
That's it.
Mhm.
Catherine.
As I said, the park commissioners met Monday night. They want to put mums in the planters that are along both rivers, and asked if the Board of Selectmen would also pay for those as they did for the petunias. The price would be $180.
Where does that money come from?
Pardon?
We do have money in the economic development line for beautification.
Okay. I guess. You need a.
I'm a yes, but I would also like to do the sidewalk ones as well and keep them out a little bit longer than we usually do because we have Halloween.
I can, so Bob Hardy is, as he sells to us for the trough and the round garden, he is supplying those at an amazingly low price.
Mhm.
So we could do that. They're putting what we're purchasing are a little bit of the 18-inch approximately across. They are, I think they go by the pot size.
Mhm.
So they're like 9-inch pots, but the mums are like this. They're going to put 3 in each planter. So I would think 3 in each
Mhm.
barrel would be plenty.
Right.
And I don't know how many
This
barrels are
5.
this 5. So I can certainly contact Bob and ask him to order 15.
Would you like that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think that would look nice for Halloween. And then Highway can put them away after that.
For sidewalk barrels.
Last year we put them away too early, and then businesses all said, "Well, where are they? We wanted to put some out for Halloween, mums."
Yeah, they look nice.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Tim, this is for you. How are we doing on the motion activating camera at Riverfront?
It is turned on. So who wants to be notified of the activity? Who do you want it to go
Contact
to?
Bob.
Okay.
Contact Bob. Where the park commissioners did decide to leave one of the bathrooms unlocked and close the other one. And Public Works was very good. They put a sign right up on the one that's closed saying it's closed due to vandalism. So we'll see how it goes. That's just an FYI. Park commissioners would also like Town Hall to put up a Halloween display for the Halloween event.
Oh, that's right up Johanna's alley.
So whether it's inside or we used to decorate the balcony, but I don't know.
I remember that.
I don't know how the balcony is.
Oh, I think, you know what? I think Cindy and Johanna would really go after that.
Yeah.
I do.
Because the park commissioners have that contest.
Okay.
And the other one is, so we voted to purchase a new voting machine. Has that been ordered? Is it in? Do we have it?
We do not have it, but the town clerk had given me the information. We sent it off to the state, and we are waiting for their approval of the grant to order it.
The other one, you have experienced it. It's problematic at the elections. Is we kind of have to baby it through, and the babysitter won't be at the September election, although Chuck will be there, so he's also very good with it. Let's see. I think I'm done my list. Thank you. Oh, to follow up what John was talking about, the property that we just decided to cancel action on. Could we get a list of town-owned properties?
Yes, we have
That-
it. It's
Not,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, the parks and whatnot. And
Not cemeteries.
But town-owned properties that we should
Sure.
look at to consider whether we should sell them or not.
So one of the items I was going to bring up after listening to Selectman Scanlon is that the properties that we've taken by deed, if the town wishes to retain those properties for town use, it needs to be governed by RSA 80:80, which basically the process is to bring it on the town warrant to allow the taxpayers to decide whether they want to keep that and then say turn it into the dog park or what have you. But in each of our annual reports, we print out a listing of town property, and I can take that list and cull it down to just include the non-cemetery, non-town building properties, if you'd like that.
Maybe a little description of what it is or something.
Would be surprised.
Well, and I was going to suggest
looked
with the
them up.
list to include the tax cards for them,
Sure,
Mhm.
absolutely.
which gives a good
Yeah.
description. And we should probably include the one we acquired today.
Correct.
Yes, yep.
Glad it was only one. No, I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, glad it was only one. That was I was going to give in my report that we acquired one property today by deed, which was the deadline. I did, Tim, are you going to talk about the senior center bus?
Sure, I wasn't
Yeah, go ahead.
planning on it, but absolutely. So
Give you a
we
piece
have
of my time here.
we have been as the board recalls, you've upped the amount from ARPA funds that would be available for use towards the senior center bus. The last number was $25,000 of ARPA funds. The buses are very hard to get. When they are available, they go quickly, and they are because of that, they're very sought after, and the prices are pretty high. The closest that we've gotten to, we have by all the groupings of money together, we've got $43,000 identified, which incorporates $5,000 of donations, $11,000 from the senior center donations fund, $25,000 of ARPA, and then $3,000 from the sale of the old bus, which is estimated because that hasn't taken place. So from a planning perspective, we're looking at a $43,000 purchase price. And the criteria for the purchase of the bus that the board had approved was a I believe it was 2017 or newer and 60,000 miles or less. And that it be the 15 passenger. So the closest that we've gotten to was I believe it was 58,000 miles for a 21, and it was 48,500 that they were able to bring down to, I think, once everything was said and done, it was roughly just a little bit more than 48,000. There was a slight discount, but then there were some other fees. So we're not there yet, and we've looked at we've looked at one and chased probably about 3 or 4 others, trying to get the dealer to come down, trying to find other businesses to sponsor. sponsor some type of donation towards it.
Mhm.
And that activity is going on right now by some individuals going to businesses and from the Senior Center Executive Committee. So bottom line is we're short. Short by,
About 6,000,
It was-
5,800, something like that.
yeah, it was under 7,000, I believe.
And if-
Pardon me.
I think we're focusing in on a 2021 with 38,000 miles.
I think that was the most current one.
The most current one.
Yeah, I think it was 38,000, not
How close are you
58,000.
to getting that? Money wise?
It was, I believe it was $7,000. Tell you in a second. I can pull it up for you as we go through tonight. I don't see it.
No,
right
no
off the top.
rush. That's-
Yeah, I've got it,
I
and
know you're trying.
I will. I'll have it for you. I know it was less than 8,000. I believe it was less than 7,000. There was a number that I provided to the Senior Center Executive Committee that had the number that they could put in their letter that they're doing for the fundraising, and I want to say it was like a 7,800 somewhere in there.
Yeah, something like
figure.
that.
Yep.
And then it's frustrating because we have to say no to our surrounding towns that we have a memorandum of understanding with, and it's doubly hard because Jane Alden is the one that's picking up the slack here, and 3 or 4 times a week she's out in her own vehicle doing this, and we need to get it done soon. So anyway, it's kind of hard to say no to take someone to the doctors. Anyway,
I'm sorry, I have the number here. It's $8,800 short of funds for a 21 Ford Transit 15 passenger van with 38,000 miles.
88.
8,800.
Yeah.
That's what's in the letter.
Okay.
Wish I was a rich man.
I know. Me too. I'd be right on it. So if you're listening out there, any donation would help. If you want to donate to the Senior Center bus, you can just send in any donation to Amy or Tim, Town of Tilton, Senior Center bus. I kind of feel awkward with the next thing that I have to say, but can I just skip over and switch my hat and go in the front here for a second?
Sure. And if I may bring up, while you're doing that,
I'll go to the
that-
podium and switch my hat.
that there was Selectman Dawson who had received approval for the town to put in the fence at a cost of $12,200 that we're now not going to put in a fence, correct? So,
Let's use that money.
well, I was going to say if that is an option.
There you go.
But the board should rescind that approval for the $12,200 fence. And that was one of the items that I had, that I wanted to bring up to the board, since if you're not going to do it, we should just rescind that motion anyway.
Yeah, yesterday I let the Board of Selectmen know the park commissioners decided to take your advice and plant the hedgerow. And I've actually ordered the hedge, so I'll make a motion to rescind the authority to, how much money?
It was act on the Superior fence quote of $12,200.
The Superior fence code of $12,200.
I believe it was.
Second. Discussion. All those
For
in
need
favor?
some of that money for doing the hedge,
Yep.
or
Well,
or
that it
you're
won't
all
be,
set?
it will need money to do the hedge, but not that much money. So,
Oh, leave 1,000 out of it for doing a
yeah,
hedge.
I
Right
mean, I
now,
don't,
we're just rescinding.
well,
the
we're going to
hedge.
rescind this and we'll worry about the
And my question was,
plantings later.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
but thank you.
Okay. I'm going to change my hat for a second here. There was a planning board Tuesday evening. During that planning board, for the first time,
This conference will now be recorded.
okay. So for the first time that this has happened since I've been here, that we had a ex officio and an alternate ex officio to the planning board sit at the table, although the alternate did not have a discussion, did not vote, but engaged in the discussion in the planning board. And I had a few calls in the office regarding that. And so I followed up on the calls. And before I followed up on the calls, I looked at one of the RSAs, which does say any two appointed or elected members of the planning board in a city or town may also serve together on any municipal board or commission, except that no more than one appointed or an elected member of the planning board shall serve on the Conservation Commission, the local governing body, or local land use board as defined in RSA 672:7. So I reached out to New Hampshire Municipal Association, and they did reply back to me. So for the record, and I hope the people that called me are listening, the Select Board's ex officio alternate to the Planning Board should be treated the same as any other alternate member of the Planning Board. As provided in RSA 673(6)(v), an alternate member of a local land use board may participate in meetings of the board as a non-voting member pursuant to rules adopted under the RSA 676:1. Has the Tilton Planning Board adopted rules governing the participation of alternates in planning board proceedings where that the alternate has not been appointed to serve for an absent member? I don't know the answer to that. Do you, Catherine? I don't think that
I
they've
would have to
ever,
ask, we'd have to ask is Sandy Plesner.
if so, those rules would apply equally to the select board ex officio alternate as they would to any other planning board alternate. That answers that question.
But it would be easy enough for the planning board at the next meeting to adopt that if they wanted to continue to allow alternates to learn how to be planning board members, which is what that RSA is intending.
Very awkward to see two select board members at the table and planning board, so it was kind of awkward to everybody to see
Yeah,
it.
but you have to remember when they're sitting at the planning board table, we're not selectmen. We're members of the planning board,
Mhm.
an alternate member and a
In
member.
this reality, Captain.
Mhm.
I
You're a
know,
selectman,
I know.
no matter where you
Unfortunately,
happen to be sitting.
even when I'm in the market, I'm
Yep,
a selectman.
right. Or the restaurant,
Yeah.
or the ladies' room, whatever.
Now, Joe, you were so
You are
right.
what you are.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so Sunday evening is our next concert, and we have our local band, J Street Band, playing. So everyone's welcome to attend. It's a great time. And that does, the services for Paul Boudreau is at the Senior Center, September 13th, during the day, 9 to 4. I don't know which is coming first, the Veterans Cemetery or whatever, but it's 9 to 4. I'll know more later, Joe.
Okay, well, text me all this information.
Yep, okay,
Yeah,
I will
all
do
right,
that.
all right.
Yep, I just found out before the meeting. So that brings my report to the end. Thank you, everyone. Town Administrator's report.
Great. Thank you. So first of all, I just want to direct your attention to the to be signed folder. And you'll see there are 2 land use change tax documents for you to sign, as well as the management representation letter for our financial audit. And I've already signed that. And this is where you get to sign that everything that we've provided is correct and accurate to the best of your knowledge.
Is it?
It is.
Okay, I'm sold.
Everything I've
To
seen.
the best of my knowledge.
So in any event, please have a look at those. And if you would sign those, I would like to get, once we provide the management representation letter back to the auditors, we'll have our final copy. And when we have that, we'll be able to upload it to our DRA portal, and we will be ready for the MS1 to be completed by September 1st. And we will just be awaiting our tax rate setting with the finalization of our estimated revenues in October.
Change use tax forms in there. Usually there's something that tells you why, like the property owner has
Yep.
requested to take those out of.
You do have that. You have
I miss
that.
it?
It is in your, it's in the FYI.
Oh,
There's a letter from the assessor. And
the rest
it
of the story?
describes
Thank
the
you.
circumstances of both properties and how the land use change tax was determined. And one last plug for these off weeks when you're not meeting. It'd be really helpful with the electronic signatures if you'd, given that we only have 4 selectmen, that, we just keep an eye on those so that we don't get too far behind on things. So in any event, I'll direct you to my report, which is in your binder. This was a draft report. It's under Town Admin tab. And the first item was Morrison Avenue, which I'll speak to you about in partly about in non-public, and also most of that has been talked about already, but I do have one issue that I need to discuss with you later. And then a few other things regarding engineers. First of all, we do now have both quotes for Academy Street. One is for $59,000, one's for $159,000. They are in your binders. They are lengthy. So enjoy reading those. They've been both emailed to you as well. And those are from the engineers of McFarland Johnson and also Turner Group. And that's what they believe it will take to determine the proper engineering to fix Academy Street. In addition to that, we also heard from McFarland Johnson regarding Caliph Hill Road. And they've informed us that they've completed their engineering determination of the road cost, and they would like to meet with the Board of Selectmen to review this. They've determined that it does fall within the $3.2 million budget. However, keep in mind there's a lot of qualifications to that in terms of how much they're actually reconstructing, how they're dealing with water and other things. So they want to present that to the board. And I thought perhaps they want to do that in September. So I was thinking that the meeting of September 19th would be good. It would allow people time, allow the board time to notify people on Caliph Hill of the meeting or any other interested parties, and perhaps hold that at the police department if it's available.
Could they submit what they're going to be discussing in their report at least 10 days before the meeting so we can
You can digest it.
digest it and
Yes.
have our questions ready. Yeah.
Got it. And so does that seem to work, your second meeting of September 19th? So that gives you
Get busy that meeting.
Does that work, Chair?
roughly a month to notify
I
residents.
thought we had something else on that that was really important that we pushed off to that.
Thought so too.
Not that I'm aware of.
Did
Not for the
Eversource
19th.
give us a date when they canceled tonight?
No, they did, Eversource did note, and I had spoken to the people that had come to the last meeting at the PD. They are going to have a meeting at Wolf Road on August 28th at 4 p.m. And I did ask them just to keep us posted in case anyone from the select board wanted to attend that. They're going to be meeting with Mr. Wolf as well as, I believe, one or two other abutters. So in any event, right now there's no set date for them to come back to the Board of Selectmen, but I would imagine that would be soon after they have their meeting. So does that work for you for September 19th for McFarland
Yeah,
Johnson?
if we don't have anything else. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And would you like to notify, specifically notify the people living along Caleb Hill?
Absolutely.
Where you send out letters?
Yes,
Mhm.
please.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then that brings me to the report. So my item number 3 on the first page is referencing the building inspector's vehicle. As you may recall, the former building inspector vehicle did not pass inspection and was going to be too expensive to repair. It had been donated to the town by a citizen from another town, and we got some good use out of that. So we had since purchased a vehicle from a dealer in town that could be returned at a later date in a reciprocal agreement where we could sell it back to them. And it effectively allowed us to rent a vehicle during this time for the most part, for about $100 a week. This vehicle is a 2016 Police Interceptor with about 130,000 miles. It's in excellent shape, except for the fact that it slips third gear occasionally. So, if we are coming up on the expiration where we'll be able to sell this back to the dealer for $6,000. But our recommendation, after talking with Public Works, the chief, and also the building inspector who drives it, it's in incredible shape other than that one problem. We do have a spare transmission for a police vehicle, but we believe it's for the SUV model, but it has not been used. It was sourced from Bow Auto Salvage, and we believe it could either be returned and replaced with another one, or the alternative is that we have 2 vehicles coming from the police fleet that are most likely going to be moved on, both of which are same model type cars and have no transmission issues. So worst cases, we'd be looking at taking one of the transmissions out of those and replacing it with the one that slips. But otherwise, the car is considered very clean and in good shape. So we would be hard pressed to be able to replace that vehicle for $6,000 and say the $1,500 it might take to swap transmissions.
I agree with you, but where are we at with the detail monies?
We're in quite good shape. So the I can if you give me a minute, I can give you the pretty close to current balance. As you might suspect, so the reason why this was a draft report is I was off for a little bit this last period, and I am a little behind in some of my regular duties, but I can tell you, bear with me a second.
I think that's
So
one
we've-
thing that we were failed to remember to say tonight, that thank you for your interim, and our new town administrator is in the audience tonight, so we forgot to say welcome, Scott.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so in any case, we have a balance over $30,000 right now, and it should be even a little higher than that. As I said, I'm a little behind with some of that. So,
Not enough to buy a new one yet, though.
no, but we're close, and the chief and I'm sure in conjunction with the chief and Scott and myself, we'll be coming up with a plan in terms of the financial,
Take another one off.
to look at how that's all going to work, because really what they're going to be short of in the near term are going to be admin cars. So those don't require the same amount of money to procure, and it's possible that we could probably get 2 used cars that would suffice in place of a new vehicle. Since we are putting car 3 currently is getting decals, and not to take anything away from the chief, but it's currently in the shop getting decals, and it should be in service very soon. So they have the 3 new frontline cruisers in those Tahoes.
And then there'll be 2 coming off instead of just 1.
Well, one, without getting into the weeds of the fleet, one vehicle is going to be too expensive to repair.
Okay.
And the other vehicle was originally thought that it could be the building inspector's vehicle once it was decommissioned. However,
Right.
upon further investigation, it's in
Engine
very,
needs it.
very rough shape.
Got it.
And the best thing that we could hope to get out of that would be the transmission.
Got it.
So my recommendation is to keep the existing vehicle, not sell it back to the dealer. As I mentioned, we would only recoup $6,000 at this point. And if we did have to replace the transmission, it looks as though the cost to do so would be to find somebody, and we do have access to that mechanic, and to swap out the transmissions between 2 vehicles.
So if we purchased it from him,
It's already purchased. It's just,
we just
so we
purchased
don't
it.
have to do anything.
Anything.
I would just
Okay.
recommend the board vote to retain the vehicle and not dispose of it.
Some questions.
Mhm.
How many miles were on that vehicle?
On the building inspector's
Yeah.
vehicle, 130,000.
And what was the cost to fix the Tacoma?
The Tacoma was, I believe that was $5,800. And that was before it would take $5,800 to determine whether it was going to be fixable. Even then, there wasn't.
58 for an estimate to look at it?
No, it was
Oh.
5,800 to do a whole number of things, but even then, there was no guarantee that it wasn't going to require more money to fix.
So, and what I'm looking at some numbers. So if we buy a car with 130,000 miles, we spend an additional 6,000 for it plus 1,500 for the transmission, or because we're losing that $6,000. We're at $7,500 minimum for that when the building inspector that we presently have. That's assuming that you can get the transmission fixed for $1,500, which is
Well, replaced. It would be swapping it. It would be the labor to swap the 2 transmissions is what we'd be looking
if it
at.
fits.
they're the same vehicles. And
Are we sure that that is the exact transmission that goes in that?
no,
I'm just
No.
curious because everything I've seen for like transmissions are close to like $2,000, 2,200 for even a used transmission now. That's ridiculous.
right. The one that we have in stock, it was 2,500. The Tacoma, the board had voted to put on municipal bid to sell that.
It hasn't been.
No, it's on my list. The vehicles are now in the front of DPW. They're ready to be photographed. We just need a good day to get the photographs done and listings complete, and then they'll be all listed.
My concern is that, we've got a car, $130,000 in a failing transmission. Would the seller offer any to swap the transmission for it? I mean, usually if you buy a used car and you take it home and it's not going third gear, they'll say, hey, yeah, well, we'll do something. We'll help you out with it.
Having dealt with them over the past 4 months that we've had the vehicle, I can tell you that that's very unlikely.
But no warranty on it.
No, there never was one. And we put on about 400 to 500 miles a month. So it's not significant. And the problem that's been felt, it is not, no one said, oh my gosh, this transmission is about to go. It's just been a very consistent kind of issue with it. So,
Just my experience with transmissions, they just
Do we
go
need to
from
fix the transmission?
a little difficulty with it to all of a sudden it just doesn't work when you start losing gears on it. Automatic transmission,
well,
the
so
bands are worn out.
yeah, so what we could do is we could swap the transmissions, and if it were required, and we have those two vehicles that that are, one's 1 year apart from this vehicle in terms of model year, but they're both police interceptors. There weren't a great deal of changes in these cars from year to year, and someone told me they thought it was the same, but you would need a technician to tell whether it's the same.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Maybe we could ask the person who we were working this arrangement with if they could do the transmission swap for us, point out what's going on, and maybe they could help out with that because we don't have a mechanic that would do it, so it would cost money for the mechanic as well as the transmission. And that person, the deal that we got from, they have mechanics there. They
Right.
know a lot about what transmissions fit with each other.
Right, and that's very possible.
Because if that transmission doesn't fit, we might be in for another $3,500 in a couple months.
Or we return the transmission we have in stock and, do a swap with Bow Auto for the transmission that it needs.
We're down a vehicle,
But
But don't we have a mechanic?
well,
Northfield.
we're currently using Northfield. They just did the rear brakes on the International.
Yeah.
As you heard earlier from Director Dow. So we do have access there. And my only comment earlier about the dealer was that I know that I'm sure they would be happy to give us a quote. It's just there was no, it was as is, where is in terms of the purchase. So, but same goes on the return. So as is, where is, we just simply return it. And the board has to make a decision by the 22nd of the month, which is when it goes back. It'll have to go back if you want to recoup the $6,000.
I say go with your suggestion. And go with your recommendation.
We don't have another alternative.
Nope, we don't. Joe?
No, I'm gonna keep it.
Yep. John?
Real tough decision.
I know.
You know, I don't like buying used cars or
Life
any
is a crap-
cars.
Life is a crapshoot,
Even a new
John.
car is a roll of the dice half the time.
Right.
Um, I'm,
We have
I'm
to
not
think
gonna
of
vote on
employee
it.
safety too.
Yeah.
Catherine,
I'm a Tim.
okay, go ahead.
Would you care to make a motion on that?
So moved.
So second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Just non-vote.
Okay. 3-1.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. All right, the next item is related to some grant opportunities that are currently available, and this is in no way meant to be an extensive discussion of this because there's a lot to it, but you may have heard of other towns receiving $10,000 per quote unquote affordable housing unit. And that's not necessarily, that's kind of a loaded term, but it happens to be 80% of a particular economic median income for a given area. So, so in any event, there's a whole process by which a town can go through to become a housing champion. And just to give you an example, the town of Newport just received $900,000, and this is no strings attached money, $900,000 for 90 units and $700,000 for an additional project. So $1.6 million of no strings attached. So when I heard about this program, I thought, well, there's a lot that has to go into it, but this could pay for the Tilton Island Bridge. This could pay for, a lot of improvements so we wouldn't have to go into debt for something like that. But again, there's a lot to it. There's also, besides the Housing Champion program, there's the Invest NH, which also is a little bit different. To give you an example, one town wanted to give a developer a piece of property to put a development on that was going to add to the tax base. And in turn, through Invest NH, the town would have received $400,000. So even though they weren't going to necessarily sell the property to the developer, they were going to recoup $400,000 from Invest NH. They decided not to do this, but that's how that was structured. So there's a lot of money right now available through the state. And this one program, the Housing Champion program, is just sort of in its infancy. But I can tell you that there are ordinances that have to be in place. There are certain things that the town has to have and be scored on, if you will, to see whether it would qualify. And the reason for going through all this with you is that if there was interest in doing this, they also have a grant program for consultants to be able to pay for a consultant to determine whether it's appropriate for the town, what the town would have to do to become a housing champion or Invest in H. And so there's grants that can be applied for, and there's a process to go through this grant program, which is also unfortunately involved. But those monies are more readily available and easier to get so that you can hire a consultant to go through and try to help determine whether this is a good thing for the town. What it does require is an overall desire by the community to provide affordable housing if you go that route of the housing champion or additional development. And the only reason I bring this up is that with the number of properties that are currently being proposed, one of which is 240 units, which in my mind translates to $2.4 million, or the 18 units a little bit down the road, which could be $180,000, or the units across the street from the 240 unit property of $400,000, or even down on the west side of town. I mean, if any one of these come through, we would end up with the development and the people associated with it living in town, but we'd have no additional money going alongside of it that would benefit the town. It's almost like looking at a version of impact fees, if you will, in that you have to have everything in place to be able to have impact fees. And if you don't take those steps, you could end up with a development, which we did, and without recouping any impact fees, which is kind of what happened. So this is one of these, if you want to take advantage of these, or if you think, well, gosh, we're going to have these developments anyway, why wouldn't we take advantage of, getting $1 million or whatever it is? And granted, not all these things are going to come to fruition. Maybe few of them will, but if some do, it could offset the cost of something significant like the bridge that could end up, burdening taxpayers. So it's just something to think about. I guess the reason for bringing it up to you is to see whether the board is interested in pursuing the HOP grant, which is what would pay for the consultant to help the board and planning board go through this process.
100% pay?
I believe it is 100%. Yes. Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Doesn't hurt, right?
Okay. And if for some reason it's not 100%, we'll come back to you. But there's a lot involved in just even going through that grant. I attended a webinar the other day, and there's a lot of red tape.
So Tim, when you talk about all these units, but these developers would have to commit to affordable housing.
So
they couldn't say, okay, we're going to do it, and then all of a sudden you end up with luxury apartments or townhouses that are at $3,000 a month, and then we just shot off our foot.
Well, they don't have to be rental units either, but they have to be priced in such a way that they're considered affordable based on an economic formula. And I wouldn't pretend to be able to know all the intricacies of this because there's just so much to it.
Okay.
But I can tell you that that other towns have been able to manage this. And it seems obvious that the state is wanting to make sure that not just the Salems and Manchesters and Keene and Littleton take advantage of these things, but they want smaller towns also to benefit from this money. There's $100 million set aside for Invest NH, and I think I don't know the total amount for the housing champions, but there's a lot of interest in this because developers are active. They see, the need for housing.
There's a lot of money in expensive housing now too, with the rents being so high. And that's the key thing is affordable housing that, yeah, we can put housing in, but as we do that, if it's not affordable housing, we run out of space and then we have no housing for people that, decide they want to retire and stay here. And we just have they get pushed out. So,
Well, I
that's one
think
thing, yeah.
that's part of the ordinances and part of the
That they would help with.
municipal participation in this is to make sure that when something is designated as such, that it becomes that. So again,
So-
I don't know all the ins and outs. I just I know that if you want to pursue any of this, I just see this big chunk of money that we could end up with these developments and not have anything to show for it. Or we can at least go through the grant process to see from a consultant, is this something we could take advantage of? But it would definitely require significant community participation. Probably mean having something on the warrant at town meeting relative to ordinances. And yet at the same time, it could mean a great deal of tax relief potentially for taxpayers.
Excellent.
Yeah. So in any case, all right. So I'll take that as the consensus that the board's in
Yes.
favor of
Yes.
pursuing the grant. Wonderful. All right. Next, some follow-ups. Number 5. So we've already talked about Morrison. Wolf Road, I mentioned the meeting, and then the budget work. So I still have to get together with the chief to finish his budget, but right now, from the operating side of the budget, we're looking at a 0.1% increase, or $8,472 increase, which is really remarkable. And that also includes half of a year of the intern in the PD, which is offset by 100% of that intern's cost. However, on the expense side, that intern is added in. You don't see the revenue side of this. That's just the expense portion. So the other thing to keep in mind is that the state did reduce Group 1 and Group 2 retirement contributions. Group 1 went down by 5.76% starting July 1 of 25, and Group 2 went down by 1.05%. Starting in July of 25. So there's a little relief from that legislation. The item D, air conditioning project, it's complete. The contractor is going to do a determination of the heat in the stage, some type of test when it makes sense to test it. But he is 1,000% sure, Catherine, that heat works up there.
Nope.
And will be sufficient.
I can tell you it doesn't.
So
Get together, two of
the
you.
I'd like
other,
to be here when you test
oh,
it.
I will make sure, or Scott will make sure you're here when that takes place. And as you may recall, the quote for the mini split for that area, so that stage area could be used for office space, so that we could reconfigure this second floor, providing the sewer commission was approved moving up to the stage. That quote was $7,000 for that last mini split, which was also the high heat mini split. So if anything, that if we went with the regular mini split, that's going to be slightly less money. I don't know what the delta is between them, but that's something that I think the board should take up before too long, considering that I think the contractor did just a phenomenal job in the building, and I would want to make sure that if the board did decide that you want to go forward with that, that we do it while the existing contractor can still do that work and have access to everything they've had. So, so I'll be happy to, for your next meeting, find where we can pay for that. But I think it's really important to do before too long, before winter, and get that done. So.
Yeah, but unless he tests it, we're not going to know which one.
Well, so he can test it. He can test it prior to it being freezing out. It's just we would have to turn the heat on and get it to a point where we can make sure that there's heat coming out of there. And you know, we've got, in fact, I believe you've got one of the temperature guns, correct?
Yep.
So.
Well, I'd love it if you turned the heat on up there.
So in any case, but I do think it's important, and I'd reiterate the fact that I don't think you should risk having to use a different contractor at some point down the road. That we take care of getting this thing, you know, determined on the heat quickly within the next 4 to 6 weeks, and then act on that so that could be done before the end of the year. Mm-hmm. That would be my recommendation. So in any case, moving on, I've already mentioned McFarland Johnson quote on E, and on F. So regarding the streetlight, so I've been in touch with for the pole that's just out at our at the corner of the property here. We were waiting on for years for that pole to be replaced. It was recently replaced. I've been in touch with Affinity LED and Eversource, and it's going to be coordinated through Eversource. Eversource will actually do the installation, but Affinity will provide them with the unit. There's some cost involved in it, but I think it's going to end up being less than $1,500, so I did approve it. And that should be in within the next 4 weeks or so. Affinity is going to actually be at Hall Library doing a lighting project there. So they'll be nearby if for some reason they're needed. G. And
one more thing on the light.
Yes.
What about the one up by Sherwood Drive, the corner that they skipped over.
Yeah, I did not have an opportunity to follow up on that. I will.
Yep. While they're at it.
I do remember you mentioned that.
I think that's the only one in town I saw. I mean, all of Sherwood Drive wasn't done, but that one is on,
Right.
that's a crosswalk where it's a dangerous area.
Right.
And that's a big key one. One we're talking about.
Mhm. I do.
Yeah, my apologies. That
That's okay.
that slipped on my list. H through J, you've heard about from the DPW director. And then regarding K, the town hall server project is complete. So the new servers are all done. They're in the rack. And all I have to do is remove the drives from the old servers and move those on. And I plan without objection from the board to sell those on eBay, which, you know, we may get a few $100s for them, something like that. So as long as there's no objection. Okay, thank you. And then moving on to number 6. So at our last meeting, we went through the changes to the land use coordinator job description, health officer job description, zoning code enforcement officer job description, and building inspector job description, some of which were needed some minor changes. Hard hats were added, Joe, and all the other items that were discussed and brought up, and those are in your binder. And I would ask that the board approve those to make those final. And those are in your for review section. And the changes are highlighted in yellow. They follow the 2 engineering quotes from Academy Street. So if we could take a look at the land use coordinator job description first. So if there's no objection to the change to the land use coordinator,
I'll make a motion to accept the land use coordinator's job summary and job description. Dated August 15th, 2024.
Second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion?
Yeah, I was wondering if we could go and at some point ask the land use coordinator if they've taken a look at it and they do it. Switch the head. Land use coordinator?
I was fine with it.
Good.
Land use coordinator was fine with it
she was.
Yeah.
last
Thanks
week.
for allowing me to ask that
meeting.
question.
I can confirm that.
That's funny.
Thumbs
Switched
up.
my hat back again. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Next
Abstain.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the health officer job description. And the changes there were on page 3, highlighted in yellow. And on page 4, it was just making sure that we were consistent between these, where the references to hard hats and so forth.
So I would ask if the health officer had gone over this document.
Responsible for enforcing the health standards ordinance. Is that what our housing standard ordinance is called?
Was it housing?
The housing standards ordinance.
I didn't know we had a
So,
health standard ordinance.
With that change, does that meet with your, otherwise, does that meet with the requirements?
Motion? The motion includes
I'll
that change?
make a motion to approve the health officer job description with the change of
Health to housing on page 3.
health to housing.
Did I hear a
Second. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good, thank you. The next one is the zoning code enforcement officer. The change was made to page 2 regarding membership licensing and certification.
Why doesn't it say, a minor, but why doesn't it say Town of Tilton job description at the top instead of zoning code enforcement officer? Like, if you back up,
I will
Yeah.
make that consistent.
just,
Yep.
Make a motion to approve the job description for the zoning code enforcement officer dated August 15th, 2022.
4.
Okay, then 24. We're paying attention, Joe.
seconded for discussion. What kind of certification is preferred? What kind of certification do they need?
I was wondering that myself. The zoning code enforcement officer wouldn't need, I mean,
Right.
there's no state requirement, and I don't think the town has a requirement.
Right. I think I would kind of,
I would just leave that off.
Would you like
Yeah.
that off? Okay.
right. I don't think that that's I don't, there's no state, I've already looked. No.
So is that as amended?
Yep.
I'll second that as amended.
Right. Joe, you're gonna say as amended?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And the last one is the building inspector job description. And you'll note that the only change there was on the first page. And that was related to zoning setback and height requirements, if you recall.
Make a motion to approve the job description for building inspector dated August 15th, 2024.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So the last item I have, and you can see in my report, I've got item 7 is open projects. Those are things that I'll be transitioning, among other things, to Scott Hilliard as he comes on board on September 3rd. Or the alternative is, and a suggestion that I have here the 4 candidates that have sent letters of interest to the board. I have these for you to review, and I would recommend that, like you did the last time you had an opening, that you had a meeting where you invited the candidates in, you had discussion and interview process with them. And I thought if you wanted to do that on August 29th, which I was not going to be available for, that might be a good meeting for Scott to start, which he said he was willing to do. So I'll pass this out.
So we can break him in.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Somebody got a blue one? Very good.
We color coded now?
Guess
I mean,
so.
she's
The
amazing.
Special one.
Well, the blue one is for me generally, but I got a black one. That's okay.
Okay, got it.
So how many do we have?
You have 4.
Four. Okay.
And I think you have
No,
a
you
great,
said that, but-
great
There were
group of
3.
candidates that have come forward. I also forwarded it off an email from your former moderator that had a suggestion as to your process. So you should check your email for that. But otherwise, it is not in the book. No, it's in your email. It came in this afternoon. So in any event, would you like to then schedule a meeting for August 29th and invite the candidates in?
I would.
Do we have any other business that night? Anything pending?
No?
I'm sure we could think of something, Catherine, when it comes up.
Don't worry about it. I'm good.
No.
You know, we go
Oh,
through
no.
things, we do things pretty quickly. Those job description changes, yeah, I mean, that was what?
It was all a
2
year and a
minutes?
half.
I'm going to miss you guys.
Where are you going?
You're not going far.
Uh,
We know where to find you.
So the answer is yes on the 29th.
Okay.
All right. Two
All right, very
things before we go into non-public. Number one, I'm going to ask the board, would you like Scott to attend our non-public for the first time?
Yes.
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 Sure.
Okay, Scott, you're welcome. Okay. Um, Is there any more business to come before us from the public? Anybody online or here in the audience? Any questions?
I got one question and comment.
Sure, Chuck.
Yeah, when it comes to the concept of affordable housing, and I, of course, it could be wrong because I have been before, although I don't want to admit it. When landlords and people who own facilities have products or apartments for rent or condos for sale, they do not ever wish to take any reduction in the kinds of income that they anticipate to get. And in many places, it requires someone or some agency, whether it's town, local, state, or federal, that will provide rental or subsidies based on income. And as a result, I think we need to be very careful with the anticipation of getting all of this free money until such time as we really can define what affordable housing is and who amongst the people who are willing to construct all these facilities are willing to accept for rent or where in fact the subsidies are going to be coming from. Thank you very much for that opportunity.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate it. Greg, we need the mic.
Yeah.
Greg the Boulder, 161 School Street. I was wondering if we'd had any updates on the bridge. I think a couple of weeks ago it was mentioned they might be coming in sometime, or if we heard anything from them, the engineering group.
Tim, do you want to answer that?
Yes.
Thank you.
We should have an update by the end of the month, but they weren't prepared to give it for this meeting.
Thank you, Tim.
And with winter just around the corner, I know we talked about a skating rink not so long ago, and just wanted to follow up to make sure we didn't lose track of that too. And that's it. Thank you.
Catherine, you're on that?
Yep,
Okay.
Parks
Parks is on that, Greg.
the-
Okay. Anybody else? Jane is very silent. I mean, Jane A, not M.
Just
I get it. Okay. Nobody else has anything to say in public, then I am going to make a motion to go into non-public, the time being 7:09, to move into non-public per RSA 91A:3, 2B, and C, the hiring of any person as a public employee, matters which discussed in public would likely adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member of this board unless such person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to include any application for assistance or tax abatement or waiver of a fee or fine or other levy if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant.
Second.
Seconded by Catherine Dawson. Roll call vote.
Jessamine, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
Dawson, yes.
Constantino, yes.
This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome back, everybody. I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of the August 15th, 2024, because the reasons justify the need for the non-public session still remain permanently.
Jessamine, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
How do I make the motion?
Well,
I have one, may I bring up one thing just very quickly? Are we back?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
so
back.
I misspoke earlier. The Superior fence amount was $12,950, not $12,200. So without,
what about the senior bus? I thought we were going to add some money to the senior bus. Think about this.
Mm,
No. How much are we going to add to the senior bus so we could boost that $7,000 up? Come on.
How much is a curb on Morrison Ave?
I was just going to say, without objection, we'll make a housekeeping change to that for $12,950 without objection.
For what?
To the motion to cancel the Superior fence agreement.
Yes, but I'm a yes too, but what about the motion to add some money to the senior bus out of that 12,000?
Nobody's actually.
We're making it now.
No, there you go.
That would, if you add 8,000 to that, that would bring it up to $33,000 of ARPA funds towards the senior center
So
bus
moved.
purchase.
Come on,
What was the,
come on.
let's see, we just raised it
We can
last.
go down tomorrow and pick it up. Tim and I could go down tomorrow and pick it up.
Aren't you working tomorrow?
I'll go down on lunch. I'll take pay time off. On my other hat, will.
Use it, pay into the maintenance of it.
Is what?
The other communities that we service.
They pay into the maintenance, yes. They pay per person ridership. Excuse me. Yes, we could go up on the ridership.
I have to. I mean, everything's gone up. It's ridiculous. Look at that. It's 8:55.
I don't want
That's
to do
when-
this. Because next meeting, it'll be, we just need 5,000 more.
No, we'll
Seems
call them
like-
tomorrow.
Three times.
Secure the bus.
Seems like this has happened 3 times.
Tim,
There's a bus
there's a
available.
bus.
Do you have your $5,000 in donation, senior center?
Yes. Secured.
Where-
Oh, no, we have more than 5,000. We
No,
have
it's-
over
it's-
13,000 we're donating.
Then why in hell are we, oh,
Yes,
So,
out of fundraising money.
which dealer is it at?
Merchants Auto,
Merchants.
2021, 38,000 miles.
Thought maybe it was our neighbor up the road that maybe there's
No.
somebody that's going to be starting on the first, might know can help do some convincing of your,
Wouldn't.
if you, would that
If
help?
they had one, they
Let's
wouldn't.
move to a resolve.
They wouldn't.
I call the question.
The question has been called. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So
All right, Joe.
call him maybe and say,
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, I will do that. Promise.
This conference will now be recorded.
Did you adjourn?
motion to
Okay.
adjourn.